The roar of the crowd swallowed the last notes of pomp and circumstance as Matthew Harlan stepped onto the stage, his cap tassel swaying like a pendulum of fate. But before the dean could grip his hand for the diploma shake, a voice cracked through the amplifiers like a gunshot. "That's my boy up there, and he's no goddamned fairy." Heads whipped toward the bleachers where Jack Harlan, Matthew's father, a silver-haired Vietnam vet with medals pinned crooked on his threadbare jacket, surged to his feet, veins bulging in his neck. In that split second, as two campus guards lunged from the shadows to haul him away, Matthew's world shattered, not with the thunder of rejection he'd braced for, but with the sickening realization that love, his love for Ryan, had just become the battlefield his father never left. Matthew's heart hammered against his ribs like it was trying to escape the polyester gown that suddenly felt like a straitjacket. The stadium lights glared down on him, turning the sea of black caps into a rippling ink blot. But all he could see was his dad's face, red as the poppies on his old unit patch, being swallowed by the guards' meaty grips. "Dad! No!" The words tore from Matthew's throat, unscripted and raw, echoing off the microphone the dean had thrust into his limp hand. The crowd's polite applause fractured into murmurs, then a wave of shocked whispers that slithered through the rows like smoke from a flare. Jack Harlan twisted in the guard's hold, his combat boots scuffing the concrete steps. "You think you can parade this abomination in front of God and country? He's my blood. You sons of bitches." Spit flew from his lips, landing on the sleeve of the nearer guard, a burly kid who looked like he'd rather be anywhere but wrestling a ghost from Nam. The second guard, older with a buzzcut that screamed ex-cop, muttered under his breath, "Sir, you're disrupting. Back it up or we'll make you." But Jack wasn't backing up. Not for these rent-a-cops. Not for the university's sanitized pageantry of futures bright and unscarred. He'd clawed his way through jungles thicker than this bullshit, lost brothers to Charlie's traps, and come home to a country that spat on his service. This was just another ambush. From the front row, Ryan Caldwell watched it unfold like a nightmare scripted by his worst fears. His fingers dug into the armrest, knuckles whitening against the cheap plastic. Matthew's eyes locked on his across the divide, the stage a chasm wider than the Mississippi, and in that gaze, Ryan saw the plea, "Don't let this break us." Ryan, with his easy California surfer build and ink-black hair that always fell just so over one eye, had been the one to pull Matthew out of the closet 2 years back, in a cramped dorm room that smelled of ramen and rebellion. They'd met in freshman lit class, bonding over Kerouac's open roads and the quiet terror of being young and queer in a world that still whispered freak behind closed doors. Ryan's touch had been the first real anchor in Matthew's storm-tossed life, but now, as Jack's curses ricocheted, Ryan felt that anchor dragging them both under. The dean cleared his throat into the mic, a nervous chuckle bubbling up like bad champagne. "Folks, let's keep the celebration going. Matthew Harlan, summa cum laude in American history, congratulations, son." The diploma slapped into Matthew's palm, cool and official, but it burned like fool's gold. He forced a smile for the cameras, the kind that didn't reach his eyes, and scanned the bleachers for his mom. There she was, 3 rows back, her floral dress a wilted flag of surrender, hands clasped so tight her rings dug crescents into her skin. Ellen Harlan had always been the buffer, the one who smoothed Jack's jagged edges with chicken pot pie and honey. Let's not today, but today, as the guards frog-marched Jack toward the exit tunnel, her silence screamed louder than his rage. Matthew stumbled offstage into the wings, the gown tangling around his ankles like kudzu. Ryan was there in seconds, vaulting the barrier with the grace of someone who'd grown up dodging his own family's evangelical landmines. "Babe," Ryan breathed, pulling Matthew into a crush of fabric and sweat. "He's gone. It's over." But Matthew shoved him back. Not hard, just enough to create space for the tears. "Over, Ryan? That was my dad. The man who taught me to salute the flag and fear nothing. And now he's calling us. Calling you. An abomination in front of 2,000 people." His voice cracked, the historian in him reeling at the irony. America's promise of liberty, trampled under the boot of one man's unhealed wounds. Ryan cupped Matthew's face, thumbs brushing away the salt tracks. "Your dad's a vet, Matt. He fought for this country so we could stand here, loving who we love. That rage is not about us. It's the ghosts he can't outrun." Ryan's voice was steady, laced with that SoCal lilt that always made Matthew feel like they were stealing moments on a Malibu beach instead of navigating family Armageddon. But even Ryan's calm couldn't staunch the bleed. Matthew's mind flashed to the letters in his dad's attic, yellowed pages from basic training, full of bravado and brotherhood that masked the terror. Jack had come home missing half his platoon, his right knee shattered by an IED that left him limping through decades of VA waiting rooms and bottle nights. Homosexuality, to Jack, it was just another enemy in the foxhole, a weakness that got good men killed. Back in the stadium, the ceremony lurched forward, the next graduate's name a bland echo. But the undercurrent hummed, phones out, videos rolling, the viral storm already brewing. Ellen slipped from her seat, weaving through the aisle like a shadow, her heels clicking a Morse code of apology. She found the guards at the tunnel mouth. Jack slumped against the cinderblock wall, breath ragged, eyes glassy with a mix of fury and something softer, more broken. "Jack, honey," she whispered, kneeling despite the grit on her nylons. "You can't do this to him." "Not today." He jerked away, but his hand trembled as it found hers. "Ellie, I raised him right. Church on Sundays, Little League, the works. And now he's throwing it all away for that boy." The word hung like shrapnel, but Ellen saw the fracture lines, the way Jack's gaze flicked back toward the field, searching for the son he'd lost twice over. Meanwhile, in the green room beneath the stands, Matthew paced like a caged panther, Ryan trailing him with worried eyes. "We should go. Skip the reception. Drive up to the cabin. Remember last summer? Just us. The lake. No cell service." Ryan's hand ghosted Matthew's waist. Promise of escape. But Matthew halted, gripping the edge of a folding table until his knuckles ached. "No. Running's what he thinks I'm doing, hiding from the truth. I love you, Ryan. God, I love you so much it scares me. But if I bolt now, it's like admitting he's right." The confession spilled out, heavy as the diploma in his pocket. They'd said the L word 100 times, in stolen kisses behind the library stacks, in the quiet hours after pride marches where the world felt conquerable. But here, under the weight of paternal thunder, felt fragile, a soap bubble pricked by bayonets. Ryan pulled him close again, foreheads touching, breaths sinking like a duet. "Then we face it together. You're not alone, Matt. Not anymore." Outside, the crowd's applause swelled for another name, another dream handed over like a baton. But for Matthew, the real race was just starting, the one back to the man who'd forged him in fire, only to try and douse the flame that burned brightest for another man. As the ceremony wound down, the graduates spilled onto the field like confetti in a breeze, air thick with hugs and camera flashes. Matthew emerged with Ryan at his side, their linked fingers a quiet defiance. Friends clustered around Sarah from the history department, her rainbow pin glinting, Jamal, who'd officiated their unofficial commitment picnic last fall. "Dude, that was some Real Housewives drama," Jamal quipped, clapping Matthew's shoulder. But the levity died quick when Ellen appeared at the field's edge, Jack nowhere in sight. He's in the car," she said, voice a thread. "Won't come out. Says he's ashamed." Matthew's stomach twisted. The prodigal son flipped on its head. "Ashamed of me? Or of himself?" Ellen reached for him, her touch feather-light. "Both, baby. Your dad's not the villain here. He's just stuck in 68. You know? Jungle rules, no room for gray." Ryan squeezed Matthew's hand. A silent "I've got you," but the ache lingered. They walked to the parking lot under a sky bruising purple, the American dream's underbelly laid bare. Freedom for some, chains for others. Jack's old Ford pickup loomed like a sentinel, engine idling rough, exhaust curling like cigarette smoke from his lungs. Matthew approached slow, Ryan hanging back with Ellen, giving space for the Harlan men to collide. "Dad." No answer, just the tinny crackle of a country station, Hank Williams crooning about lost highways. Matthew rapped the window, fogged from Jack's breath. "We need to talk." The door creaked open, and Jack unfolded like a rusty jackknife, his eyes bloodshot but steady. "Talk? You want to talk about how you shamed me in front of half the town? That boy's poison, Matt. Turns you soft when you need to be steel." The words landed like punches, each one echoing the drills Jack had put him through. Push-ups in the dawn chill, lessons in stoicism that left no room for tears or tenderness. Matthew squared up, the gown discarded now, just khakis and a button-down that felt too tight. "Soft, Dad? Loving Ryan doesn't make me weak. It makes me whole. You fought for a country where I get to choose that. Or did I miss the memo on liberty?" Jack's laugh was bitter, a bark without mirth. "Liberty? Boy, I fought so you wouldn't have to. So you'd marry a nice girl, give me grandkids with your eyes. Not this." He gestured vaguely, encompassing Ryan's silhouette in the dusk. Betrayal flickered in Matthew's chest. Not just the rejection, but the erasure of the son Jack had raised. The one who'd aced AP history on tales of civil rights marches, only to be blind to his own boy's battle. The argument escalated, voices rising like flares, drawing stares from departing families. Ryan stepped forward, calm as a diplomat. "Mr. Harlan, with respect, Matthew's your son. He's brilliant, kind, the best man I know. If you push him away now, you'll lose more than a graduation." Jack's glare could curdle milk, but something cracked, a microfissure in the armor. "You don't know loss, kid. Not like me." He climbed back into the truck, door slamming like a verdict. As taillights faded into the twilight, Matthew sank to the asphalt, Ryan wrapping around him like a shield. The night air hummed with cicadas, a southern symphony underscoring the rift. Little did they know, the real showdown was brewing, not in words, but in the shadows of brotherhoods forged in salt and sea. The days blurred into a haze of post-grad limbo, the diploma gathering dust on Matthew's nightstand while job applications piled up like unanswered prayers. He and Ryan holed up in the cramped apartment above Ryan's uncle's garage in Athens, Georgia, the kind of place where the AC wheezed like an old smoker and the walls thrummed with the bass from Friday night keggers below. It was a far cry from the manicured lawns of the University of Georgia, but it was theirs. A queen bed crammed with thrift store quilts, a kitchenette where Ryan experimented with vegan tacos that always ended in laughter and spilled salsa. See, even the universe wants us saucy. Ryan would grin, licking guac from Matthew's chin. But the graduation ghost lingered, a specter in every quiet moment. Matthew scrolled X obsessively, the clip of his dad's outburst racking up views, first hundreds, then thousands, tagged with pride clash and vet versus vows. Comments ranged from fire emojis of support to vitriol that made his skin crawl. Disgrace to the uniform, clashing with finally, someone says it. Ryan tried to unplug him, dragging him to the Chattahoochee for lazy floats on inner tubes. But Matthew's mind kept drifting back to the truck's red glow, Jack's silhouette shrinking in the rear view. He hasn't called, he'd mutter into Ryan's chest at night, the words a mantra of abandonment. Not once, Ryan, ever the fixer, suggested therapy, campus counseling for Matthew, maybe a vet's group for Jack. Babe, wounds like his don't heal with band-aids. They need surgery. His own scars ran deep. Raised in Orange County by parents who'd traded Bible study for Botox, Ryan had come out at 16 to a family that responded with pray it away, pamphlets and a one-way ticket to boarding school. He'd rebuilt himself in college, joining the Queer Alliance, interning at a nonprofit for LGBTQ vets, a irony that hit harder now. I see guys like your dad every week, he'd say, stirring coffee with too much sugar. Tough as nails on the outside, but inside, they're screaming for permission to love their kids. Period. One muggy Tuesday, the call came not from Jack, but from Ellen. Her voice trembled down the line like a leaf in a gale. Matthew, honey, he's not good. Drinking more, snapping at the VFW buddies. Last night, he smashed the old platoon photo, the one with you as a toddler on his lap. Matthew's throat closed, visions of that frame dancing. Him gap-toothed and grinning, Jack in dress greens, a rare smile cracking his stern facade. Mom, what do I do? Show up and beg? Force him to meet Ryan? Ellen sighed, the sound of a woman who'd long ago traded dreams for duty. Just come home. The lake house. Neutral ground. Bring the boy if you must, but give your father a chance to remember who you are. The drive to Lake Oconee was a 3-hour tension wire. Ryan at the wheel of his beat-up Jeep, windows down to let the pine-scented wind scour the silence. Matthew fiddled with the radio, landing on NPR's story about Don't Ask, Don't Tell's repeal vets coming out after decades in the closet. Listen to that, he said. Volume up. I served with men I loved, brothers in arms, and hid it to survive. Ryan nodded, one hand on Matthew's knee. Your dad's generation? They buried it deeper than foxholes. But change starts with one guy saying, enough. The lake appeared like a mirage, glassy and green-fringed. The cabin a squat A-frame with sagging porch steps. Summers of cannonballs and fireflies, now tainted by memory. Jack was on the dock when they pulled up, rod in hand, line cast into the water that lapped lazy at the pilings. He didn't turn, but his shoulders stiffened, the universal signal of intruder. Ellen bustled out with sweet tea and apologies, her hug fierce. He's trying, Matt. In his way, Ryan hung back, unloading cooler and duffel, giving the Harlans the runway. Matthew approached slow, boots thudding on weathered wood. "Hey, Dad." Jack reeled in slow, the lure glinting empty. "Hey," one word, but it was a bridge, rickety, but there. They sat in silence first, the kind that stretched like taffy, uncomfortable but familiar. Then Jack grunted, "Fish ain't biting today." Like they know something's off. Matthew seized the thread. Maybe they're just waiting for the right bait. A beat. Then Jack's chuckle, gruff, reluctant. "Smartass." Always were. The ice cracked. Words tumbling, school. The thesis on Stonewall that Jack dismissed as hippie revisionism. The job hunt in Atlanta's cutthroat market. Ryan joined eventually, casual as a breeze, offering a beer Jack eyed but accepted. Caldwell. "Huh? You in the service?" Ryan shook his head. "Nah, but my uncle's a SEAL, retired, runs a gym in San Diego. Taught me a thing or two about grit." Jack's eyes lit, the common ground a spark. SEALs. Real operators. Lost a buddy to beauty/s washout. Said it broke him tougher than any tour. Dinner was Ellen's fried catfish. The table a minefield navigated with small talk. But as plates cleared, Jack leaned back, nursing his bud. "Saw the video, Matt. Went viral or some shit. Folks at the Post. They give me looks." Shame colored his cheeks. Not anger. Matthew's pulse quickened, vulnerability, rare as a blue moon. "Dad. It hurt. But I get it. You're scared I'll end up like the stories you tell, alone and forgotten." Jack's fist clenched on the tablecloth. "Scared? Boy, I'm terrified. War takes everything, your sleep, your trust. Then you come home, and the world's changed. Men marrying men? Feels like the enemy's won without firing a shot." Ryan spoke then, voice even. "With respect, sir. The enemy's fear. Not love." The room held its breath. Ellen's fork frozen midway. Jack stared, then pushed back his chair, storming to the porch. Matthew followed, the screen door banging like a heartbeat. "You don't get to lecture me, kid." Jack whirled, finger jabbing. "I buried friends who couldn't even say goodbye to their wives, let alone." He stopped, face crumpling. "Let alone love who they wanted." The admission hung, a grenade with the pin pulled. Matthew stepped closer. "Then why fight it in me? I served in JROTC. That. I know duty. Loving Ryan is mine." Jack deflated, sinking onto the steps, head in hands. "Because if I let you go, you're gone for good. Like them." Tears tracked his weathered cheeks. First time Matthew had seen it since the hospital after Jack's knee surgery. They sat there till stars pricked the sky, words weaving a fragile truce. Ryan watched from the door, hope flickering. But betrayal brewed in the dark. Unbeknownst to them, one of Jack's VFW cronies had leaked the story to a local rag, twisting it into woke college corrupts war hero's son. By morning, the cabin's peace shattered with headlines and hate mail. The fallout hit like a monsoon. Protesters, Bible thumpers mostly, gathered at the lake's public access, signs waving "God hates gays," amid chants that carried on the wind. Jack, red-faced, shooed them off with a shotgun propped on his hip, empty but ominous. "Get off my land." Ellen barricaded the windows with quilts, phone glued to her ear, fielding calls from cousins who suddenly needed space. Matthew and Ryan barricaded themselves in the loft, scrolling the frenzy. "This is insane," Ryan muttered, arm around Matthew's shoulders. "Your dad's story's blowing up. People calling him a hero for standing up." Betrayal stung deepest from within. The leak traced to Buddy Klein, Jack's poker buddy, who'd always eyed Matthew sideways. Confrontation came at the VFW hall that evening, Jack insisting they face it like men. The parking lot was a circus, reporters milling, a news van idling. Inside, smoke-hazed air thick with stale beer and suspicion. Buddy held court at the bar, regaling a knot of vets with embellished tales. Jack's boy gone Hollywood queer, ruinin' the family name. Jack's entrance was thunder, Matthew and Ryan flanking like sentinels. "Buddy, you Sanuvovich." The room hushed. Buddy smirked, glass midway to lips. "Just tellin' it straight, Harlan. Someone had to." Fists flew, Jack's first, a haymaker that splintered Buddy's stool. Chaos erupted, chairs scraping, shouts blending into a roar. Matthew dove in, pulling Jack back as Ryan shielded Ellen from the scrum. Punches landed wild, blood blooming on knuckles, until MPs from the nearby base waded in, batons flashing. Hauled outside into flashing lights, Jack spat on the gravel, chest heaving. "Traitor. Sold me out for clicks." Buddy, nursing a split lip, sneered from the curb. "Truth hurts, Jackie. Your boy's a disgrace. Pardon that fairy." The slur ignited Ryan. He lunged, but Matthew held him, whispering, "Not worth it." Sirens wailed distant, the night fracturing into arrests averted by Jack's service pole. Back at the cabin, wounds tended with peroxide and profanity, the men circled like survivors. "I taught you better than hate," Jack growled at his reflection in the bathroom mirror. Matthew bandaged his dad's knuckles, the act intimate as confession. "Then unteach it. For me, Ryan." From the hall, added soft, "For all of us." Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with jungle vines and rainbow flags. Dawn broke humid, promising more storms, but in the quiet, a seed of change took root, fragile, but fierce. Word of the VFW brawl spread like kudzu on a Georgia fence, twisting the Harlan saga into tabloid gold. By week's end, CNN had picked it up, Veterans' Fury, Pride or Prejudice in the Peach State, with pundits dissecting Jack's outburst like it was a Rorschach test for America's soul. Matthew's phone buzzed non-stop, interview requests, ally messages, trolls wishing him conversion therapy. He muted it all, holing up with Ryan in the cabin's loft, where the slanted ceiling cradled their whispers like secrets. "This is us now," Ryan said one night, tracing Matthew's collarbone by flashlight. "Headlines. But we're the story that matters." Their lovemaking was slow, deliberate, a reclaiming amid the wreckage, bodies mapping forgiveness where words failed. Jack, meanwhile, retreated into ritual, polishing his medals till they gleamed like accusations, nursing black coffee on the dock at dawn. Ellen played diplomat, ferrying plates and pleas between father and son. "He's reading your thesis, you know," she confided over breakfast, passing the grits. "Underlines and all. Says the Stonewall part's mostly bullshit, but makes a point." Matthew's laugh was half-sob. "Progress, inch by bloody inch." But the betrayal from Buddy festered, a poison Jack couldn't purge. 40 years, he'd mutter to the lake. And that bastard stabs me in the back for 15 minutes of fame. Ryan's uncle, the seal, called midweek, Big Tom Caldwell, voice like gravel over gravel. Heard about your dust-up, nephew. Sounds like Harlan needs a reality check from men who get it. Tom had served 3 tours in the Gulf. Come out post-repeal to a squadron that toasted him with Jack Daniels. War don't care who you love, long as you got their 6. Tell Jack that. Ryan relayed it over dinner, the 4 of them at the scarred oak table, fireflies winking outside. Jack snorted. Seals? Bunch of showboats. My boys in Nam humped it real, no glory, just graves. But his eyes lingered on Ryan, reassessing. The turning point came unbidden. A Saturday scorcher when the protesters returned, bigger mob this time, bullhorns blaring psalms, a pickup blasting gospel rock. They chained themselves to the dock, demanding repentance for the Harlan heresy. Jack watched from the porch, shotgun in lap, but Matthew stepped forward first. This is private property. Leave, or we call the sheriff. A woman in a red visor thrust a tract at him. Sodom's wages, boy. And in the scuffle, her heel caught Matthew's shin, sending him sprawling into the shallows. Ryan hauled him up, mud-smeared and seething, but it was Jack who exploded. He charged the line, not with the gun, but with roar that echoed his old sergeant bellows. You vultures, pick on a kid fighting shadows? I lost brothers to real evil, yellow rain. Not rainbows, the crowd faltered, but Buddy emerged from the throng, megaphone in hand, face smug. Jackie, join us. Save your soul and your sons. Betrayal's knife twisted anew. Jack's face went volcanic. You leak my pain. Stir this shitshow. Then preach, get off my land. Or I'll bury you like the rat you are. Fists clenched. But Tom's words echoed. Got their 6. And Jack lowered his hands, turning to the family. Inside. All of ya. In the living room. Humid and tense. Jack paced like a caged bear. This ends now. No more hiding. No more fighting ghosts. He faced Matthew, voice cracking. I was wrong, son. About you. About him. The nod toward Ryan was grudging, but real. Matthew's eyes welled. Dad. Jack held up a hand. Let me finish. War taught me love's a liability. Gets you killed. But watching you stand there, mud to your elbows, defending us, that's steel. Prouder than any medal. The hug was awkward, all elbows and unspoken sorries. But it landed like absolution. Ryan, tears unashamed, pulled out his phone. Uncle Tom's flying in. With some friends. Says you'll need a proper sit-down. Jack barked a laugh. Seals in my living room? Hell, why not? The call went out. A ripple across coasts. 6 operators. Retired but unbreakable. Converging on Lake Oconee like Avengers in flight suits. They arrived at dusk. Jeeps crunching gravel. Duffels slung over shoulders broad as barn doors. Tom led. Bear hug for Ryan. Firm handshake for Matthew. Then eye to eye with Jack. Heard you served with the 101st. My pops too, Ardennes 44. Respect. The men circled the fire pit that night. Beers cracked. Stars a canopy overhead. Stories flowed like the lake's current. Jack's Tet offensive hell. Tom's Fallujah firefights. The unspoken thread of loves hidden in barracks bunks. One SEAL, A lanky Texan named Reyes. Came out quiet. Lost my CO to AIDS in '92. Couldn't even attend the funeral. Don't ask policy? Bullshit chain around our necks. Another, grizzled Mac, pulled a faded photo. Him and his husband at their 15 wedding, dog tags on the cake. Fought for freedom. Took years to claim mine. Jack listened. Firelight carving shadows on his face. The walls he'd built charring at the edges. Matthew and Ryan watched from the porch swing, fingers laced. Think it'll stick? Matthew whispered. Ryan kissed his temple. Love's a long game, babe. But yeah, Ellen brought Esmores. Her smile tentative. The family orbiting closer. Buddy's shadow loomed via text. Threats of lawsuits. More leaks, but Jack deleted it. Phone tossed into the cooler. Not tonight. As embers died. The seals bunked in sleeping bags on the lawn. A fortress of flesh against the dark. But dawn brought the hammer. A viral deepfake. Buddy's handiwork. Splicing Jack's old service footage with drag show clips. Captioned, Traitor Vet Backs Deviancy. The post exploded. Death threats flooding Jack's inbox. Protesters swelling to a horde. The SEALs mobilized, forming a perimeter. But Matthew saw the toll. Jack's hands shaking as he loaded the shotgun for real. Can't let them touch you, he growled. Ryan's phone lit with Tom's network. Lawyers, PR, a counter-narrative brewing. Yet the conflict peaked when Buddy rolled up in a souped-up F-150, megaphone mounted, flanked by a militia of red hats. Harlan, face the music. The standoff crackled electric. SEALs in a V formation. Jack at the fore. Matthew and Ryan behind. Buddy's voice boomed. You're a disgrace. Served with queers? No wonder we lost. Jack stepped forward. Voice steady as granite. Lost? We won 'cause men loved fierce. Brother to brother. No matter the skin or the sin. You leak my life. Twist my boy? You're the enemy now. The crowd murmured. Fractures forming. Reyes muttered to Mac. Time. They surged, not violent, but vocal. Badges flashed. Reserve status. Dispersing the mob with authoritative calm. Buddy peeled out. Tires screeching defeat. In the aftermath, Jack turned to Matthew. Eyes clear. I'm sorry, son. For the guards. The words. The years. The embrace was full. No holding back. Romance bloomed in the chaos. Ryan pulling Matthew aside. Kissing him fierce under the oaks. We're unbreakable. But the climax loomed. Graduation's echo demanding one final reckoning. The viral storm didn't die with Buddy's retreat. It morphed. A hydra of media frenzy that dragged the Harlans into spotlights they'd never craved. National outlets descended on Lake Oconee. Trucks with satellite dishes hulking in the driveway. Reporters staking out the general store like hawks on a wire. Jack fielded them from the porch. Gruff but game. Yeah, I fucked up. Man's got a right to his son. Queer or not. The soundbite went prime time, humanizing the vet who'd become a meme. Matthew watched from the kitchen window, coffee mug steaming, Ryan's chin on his shoulder. He's owning it. For you. The SEALs extended their stay, turning the cabin into a makeshift command center. Laptops humming with legal briefs. Tom coordinating with GLAD for damage control. This ain't just your fight, Harlan. He told Jack over pancakes, syrup dripping like optimism. It's every vet kid out there, hiding in plain sight. Jack nodded. Fork paused. Never thought I'd thank Jarheads for a TED Talk. Laughter rippled, the first easy one in days. Reyes sketched ops plans on napkins, not for combat, but for the real war, a press conference at the VFW, reclaiming the narrative. Matthew's internal battle raged quieter, a tide of doubt eroding his resolve. Late nights, he'd slip to the dock, skipping stones into the black water, replaying the graduation, the guard's hands on Jack, the crowd's gasp, Ryan's hand in his like a lifeline. "Am I selfish?" he confessed to Ryan one midnight, wrapped in a blanket against the chill. "Dragging him through this for my truth?" Ryan's response was a kiss, slow and sure. "Selfish is silence. You're giving him grace to grow, to grieve, to love you back." Their bodies entwined under the stars, passion a bomb. But Matthew's heart whispered of deeper fears. What if reconciliation was just a pause, not a pivot? Betrayal's second strike came sly. From an unexpected quarter, Sarah, Matthew's old study buddy, who'd gone radio silent post-grad. A leaked email chain surfaced, her pitching the Harlan drama to a podcaster as explosive insider tea, trading friendship for 15 minutes. The word stung. Matt's dad? Total bigot goldmine. "I was there, can spill all." Matthew confronted her via video call, face pale on the screen. "Why, Sarah? We marched together." She shrugged, mascara smudged. "Bills, Matt. And honestly, your story's bigger without the fluff." The call ended in static. Another fracture in the trust he'd built brick by queer brick. Ryan found him after, curled on the loft bed, phone shattered against the wall. "She sold us out." Ryan gathered him close, rocking gentle. "Then we rise above. You're stronger than this." The SEALs rallied too, Mac sharing his own tale of a squadmate's betrayal, coming out posthumously via a hidden letter. "Hurts like hell, but it don't define you." Jack, overhearing from the stairs, grunted approval. "Snakes everywhere. Learned that in the bush." The forgiveness workshop began informal. Ellen baking lemon bars, the group circle on the lawn, passing a jug of moonshine and memories. Jack admitted his first sin. A stolen glance at a fellow grunt in basic, buried under bravado. "Thought it made me broken. Maybe it just made me human." As the press conference loomed, tensions crested. Buddy, cornered by lawsuits, countersued for defamation, claiming Jack's punch was assault. The leak protected speech. Reporters swarmed the cabin, one shoving a mic at Matthew. "Is your father homophobic? Or just old school?" He froze, Ryan's hand steadying him. "He's learning. Like America." But inside, doubt gnawed. Would Jack show? The old man had vanished at dawn, Ford rumbling away with a vague errands. Hours ticked, the VFW lot filling with cameras, supporters waving pride flags alongside vet banners. Ryan drove Matthew there, the SEALs convoying like a motorcade. The hall buzzed, air electric with anticipation. Ellen paced the green room, fidgeting her pearls. "He'll come," he promised. Tom clapped Matthew's back. "This is your Normandy, kid. Storm it." On stage, under harsh lights, Matthew stepped to the podium first, notes trembling. "I'm Matthew Harlan. History major, gay son, American. My dad's a hero, not perfect, but human. This story does not clash. It's conversation." Applause swelled, but his eyes scanned the doors. Then, rumble, tires on gravel. Jack burst in, jacket slung over shoulder, face set like flint. But not alone. 6 more vets in tow. His old platoon remnants, grizzled and grinning. "Told you I'd bring backup," he rumbled, mounting the stage. The crowd erupted, flashes blinding. Jack gripped the mic, voice booming. "I served so my boy could stand here, free. I was wrong to doubt that. Ryan," he turned, extending a hand. "You treat him right, or I'll kick your ass myself." Laughter boomed, Ryan's grin splitting wide as he shook it firm. The conference flowed cathartic, questions fielded with raw honesty, Jack admitting his fears, Matthew sharing the pain, the SEALs bridging with tales of queer service. Buddy's suit crumbled under the spotlight, witnesses recanting, his speech exposed as malice. But the real climax detonated post-event. As confetti rained in the parking lot, a lone gunman, Buddy's cousin, radicalized online, emerged from the shadows, pistol raised. For tradition, chaos froze time. Matthew shoving Ryan aside, Jack lunging, Tom's tackle a blur. Shots cracked, wild, panicked, pinging off jeeps. The SEALs swarmed, disarming with precision born of sand-swept streets. Jack took a graze to the arm, blood blooming dark, but he stood tall, pinning the shooter till cops swarmed. Matthew dropped beside him, hands pressing the wound. "Dad, oh God." Jack waved him off, wincing. Flesh wound. "Son." Like numb scratches. Ryan knelt too, belt tourniquet quick. "You saved us." Jack's eyes met his, fierce. "Family's got your 6. All of ya." Sirens wailed, the night fracturing into ambulances and statements. In the ER, stitches fresh, Jack pulled Matthew close. "No more guards. No more leaving. Proud of you both ways." Tears mixed with antiseptic sting. Romance sealed the wound. Ryan, waiting room vigil, kissing Matthew senseless when allowed. We're the victory lap. Yet the arc bent toward crescendo, whispers of a larger threat. Buddy's network plotting a reclamation rally at the original graduation site, UGA Stadium, 1 month to the day. "They want round 2, Tom briefed over coffee. Maps unrolled. "We shut it down. Our way." The rally call echoed across extremist forums. Buddy's venom amplified into a manifesto. "Reclaim the ceremony. For God. Country. Purity." UGA Stadium, symbol of Matthew's triumph and fracture, was the battleground. Planners envisioned 1,000-strong militia types, church groups, storming the field to purge the perversion, with Jack's betrayal as Exhibit A. Leaks hit the news. Armed patrols, megachurch buses chartered from Atlanta. The Harlans braced, cabin fortified with cameras and comm. "Not running," Jack declared, arm in sling but spirit unbowed. "This ends on our terms." Matthew's days blurred into strategy sessions, the SEALs' expertise turning the loft into a war room. Tom plotted perimeters. Reyes ran drills in the yard, Matthew and Ryan practicing de-escalation, voices steady under fire hose arcs simulating tear gas. "Breathe through it," Mac coached, his husband on speaker from Seattle, cheering. Ellen baked morale boosters, pecan pies laced with bourbon, while Jack reached out to his VFW network. Old-timers pledging trucks and resolve. "Ain't letting rednecks rewrite my service," one growled over the line. Ryan's role deepened, his nonprofit ties mobilizing queer vets nationwide. "Hundreds signing on," he told Matthew. laptop glowing in the dark. They're coming for you, for Jack. Their nights anchored in intimacy. Slow dances to Johnny Cash on the porch. Ryan's hands mapping Matthew's scars. Emotional, etched deep. I fell for the fighter in you, Ryan murmured, lips on neck. The one who loves fierce. Matthew arched into it, vulnerability yielding to fire. And I for the dreamer, who sees the America we build. Love, in its raw romance, became rebellion. Betrayal's final twist slithered in. A mole in the VFW, feeding Buddy intel on Jack's defenses. The tip came anonymous, Jack's burner phone buzzing at 3 a.m. They're coming early. Flank east. Paranoia spiked. Trust eroded. But the SEALs adapted. Feints and false trails laid like breadcrumbs. Ellen, ever the heart, hosted a pre-dawn powwow. Family and frogs around the table. Fears voiced soft. We're not just surviving, she said. Eyes on Jack. We're thriving. He squeezed her hand. Then Matthew's. Then tentative Ryan's. Damn right. 0-hour hit under a harvest moon. Stadium floodlights stark against the velvet sky. The extremists arrived ragged. 300 at most. Torches flickering like angry fireflies. Chants guttural. One nation under God. Buddy led from a flatbed. Silhouette swollen with spite. But the counterforce assembled silent. Vets in formation. Pride allies linked arm in arm. Locals with glow sticks forming a human chain. Matthew stood center field. Cap and gown symbolic. Ryan at his side. Jack and Ellen flanking. SEALs a steel spine behind. Buddy's megaphone crackled. Harlan, your weakness invited this. Surrender the field. Jack stepped forward. Voice amplified by a borrowed bullhorn. Surrender? I fought commies so you could spew this crap? This ground's for graduates. Not goons. Murmurs rippled the mob. Cracks widening. Matthew took the mic next. Heart thunderous. I'm gay. I'm American. And I'm here with my family. Cheers erupted from the shadows. Supporters emerging. Queer vets in fatigues. Waving flags stitched with stars and stripes in rainbow thread. The SEALs moved then. 6 shadows detaching. Boots silent on turf. They didn't charge. They encircled Buddy's stage. A noose of quiet authority. Stand down, Tom intoned. Badge glinting. This is protected speech. Yours ends where threats begin. Panic flickered. A scuffle broke. Torches dropped. Flames guttering. Buddy fired a warning shot skyward. Illegal. Idiotic, sparking chaos. The mob fractured, stampeding toward exits as cops, tipped by the mole's redemption, swarmed from the wings. In the melee, Buddy lunged at Jack, knife flashing a final stab of grudge. Matthew dove, taking the slash across his forearm, blood hot and slick. Ryan roared, tackling Buddy down, fists precise till SEALs pinned him. Jack cradled his son, Ellen's scarf binding the wound. Not you, Matt, not like this. Sirens converged, the stadium emptying into catharsis. Arrests, amends, a chorus of "We shall overcome" rising unbidden. Dawn painted the field gold, debris like confetti from a war won. Medics tended Matthew's arm, stitches neat, prognosis clear. Jack sat vigil, grizzled hand on his. You saved me, boy. Again, Matthew grinned through painkillers. Family, that's the mission. Ryan, bruised but beaming, kissed his brow. My hero. The Seals debriefed over coffee in the bleachers. Toasts to unlikely brothers. Buddy faced charges. Assault, conspiracy, the mole testifying for immunity, betrayal redeemed. Months later, the Harlan cabin hosted a different ceremony. Not graduation, but gathering. Jack walked Matthew down an aisle of wildflowers by the lake. Ryan waiting in khakis and kippa, hybrid vows blending faiths and futures. Vets mingled with allies. Ellen's cake towering. Tom's best man speech landing laughs and lumps. From foxholes to family, he boomed. That's the American way. Jack's toast was quiet thunder. I was blind. Sons. Were took my sight, but you gave it back. To love, messy, mighty, mine. Glasses clinked. Tears flowed free. Matthew and Ryan danced slow under string lights, the world a softer shadow. No guards, no shutdowns, just seals of the heart, binding wounds into wisdom. In the end, humanism triumphed not in perfection, but persistence. A veteran's rage forged into embrace. A son's courage carving space for all. America, flawed and fierce, bent toward the light they'd lit together, one unbreakable bond at a time.